Hey everybody, welcome to the QuiverCast.
You go left, I go right. Man, this wave is out of sight. Going surfing, going surfing, going surfing with friends.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the QuiverCast. Today we have Jared Muscat. How are you, Jared?
What's up, Mike? I'm doing all right, man. There's some fun waves last week, so I'm better off because of that. Like, pretty fun session last Friday, and yeah, just honored to be on here. Stoked you thought I was worthy.
So stoked you coming on. Where are you residing right now?
I live in Santa Barbara, California.
Yeah. So good in the winter, bad in the summer.
Good in the winter, awful in the summer. Think I'm almost local status. I've been here for 10 years. Kind of have the funny history of I've lived up and down California. So like I'm not a true local anywhere, I don't feel, even though I know everyone everywhere.
So when you paddle out, let's say somewhere in San Diego, you recognize faces still?
Oh yeah. I've got my South County friends that I'll talk to when I'm going down there. My wife's family is from down there, so I'll go surf South County a lot, and I've got the boys there. Or if I'm up in North County, I'll hit the team, my friends up there. So
tell us your childhood. Where'd you grow up at?
I was born in San Francisco. We lived there till I was 2, and then my parents made the decision to move to Rhode Island. I loved it in a certain way because I was a young kid. My mom grew up in Orange County, and so every summer we'd go back to California and go spend the entire summer in Orange County, Newport Beach specifically. And she told me all these stories about being a surfer, and so I dreamt of, can we please move back to California? And they finally did. They finally did when I was 10. Or 9 turning 10, and we moved back to Marin County, and that's kind of like when I finally got to be who I dreamt to be.
Did your mom or dad surf?
My mom surfed when she was young and in high school.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
okay, cool.
Yeah, she surfed a lot. Her favorite thing was the mountains. She loved to ski, so that kind of took over after high school for her, but she'd always tell me all these stories of surfing, and I was just fascinated by it and dreaming to follow that footstep.
You can surf in Rhode Island.
Yeah, you can. They did not really tell me about that back when we lived in Rhode Island. They actually moved back out there about 11 years ago, and we go visit them like once or so a year. I'll bring a board or two with me and like usually get one day.
In the summer or winter?
Both. We'll do one, kind of back and forth, and I just have not figured out like when it was actually worth bringing aboard. I've surfed it like I think 6 or so Rhode Island surfs were in 2-foot waves that would make Ventura Harbor groveling feel like it's overhead in comparison.
Yeah,
So.
But I've seen good waves there. It has a phase.
Yeah. No, I there's a couple accounts I follow over there, and I saw a photo, I think like the last hurricane of the hurricane season, making this one right point look relatively like C Street down here.
Wow. And
with about 1/8 the crowd. So I was quite jealous.
Yeah, for sure. In Rhode Island, you never really had you never thought your mom never thought you would have a surf life there.
We didn't really look into it too much, like it was just, we'd come and we'd spend 3 months out in Orange County and the middle of summer when it's nice and warm. And, I had that young skin that didn't seem to need a wetsuit ever. We just lived our California surf life in the summer.
And how different was that than Rhode Island? Like flying back, like were you bummed?
I don't remember the same detail my mother and father tell me, but when we were leaving, I was crying most of the plane ride back. I very specifically remember when they broke the news that we were moving to California.
Mm-hmm.
I had some sadness about leaving some friends behind and,
of course,
and all that. I also just remember being like, finally, California life, let's go. It's what I was dreaming of and wanted and have lived ever since. Yeah.
Okay, but you're moving up to San Francisco, which is not the California life of Newport Beach by any means.
Yeah, that was kind of a cold awakening for sure.
Like literally.
Both literally and figuratively. Yeah. I got my first surfboard the summer we moved out and did not get a wetsuit. because I didn't think I needed a wetsuit because I was used to the Newport Beach summer life. That was an interesting path to finally being like, all right, I'm cold enough. Like, can we please find a wetsuit?
Ocean Beach is a lot different than 56th Street.
Definitely
Far.
is. Yeah. You know, it's funny that you say that though, because as different as the waves were, the biggest fear my parents instilled in me wasn't waves, it was sharks.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, like we became friends with them later, but John Catherine was a surfer up in the area, and he'd been attacked by a shark at Stinson Beach.
Wow.
I think it was the summer before we moved out. And so it was all over the news right when we got there. And it was just this big, like, we're not surfing the summer months. We'll go down south, you know, everything like that. But they're terrified of sharks. I guess they trusted my swimming skills enough. I'd done swim teams throughout my younger years. And so they trusted that enough to make it more like, don't get attacked by a shark.
Which is strange. I feel like you could drown pretty easily in Ocean Beach. If any beach.
Yeah. I remember my first session at Ocean Beach, and it was with this kid named Nick Howley and his dad. And Nick was a shredder. He grew up in Laguna Beach, and he'd recently moved up. And I remember him finally like giving me the like, all right, you're coming with me. You're good enough. Let's go. And I remember paddling out and he was out there so fast, and I was on the inside, just like in a solid dual format of self-criticism, denial, and like, I need to get out there so that this guy will keep surfing with me and not just call me a kook.
Did that improve your surfing Ocean Beach?
I was talking with a friend the other day out in the lineup about, he never really has gone up there that much. He's a Ventura local. He was talking about how like, oh, those A-frames look so beautiful, and like how crazy that paddle out is. Like, that must have really helped. And I think, like, to an extent, it does. Like, my duck diving technique is pretty darn good. My grovel abilities are darn awful. You know, we just had waves all the time. And even if it's not big, there's so much more power than you're going to get on the small days down here in Southern California.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, I mean, there's so much water moving. How long did you stay up in San Francisco? Is that where you were like raised through high school and everything?
My parents were like pushing me towards the private school life, and I was looking at a bunch of high schools, and there's this one St. Ignatius College Prep that happened to be on 37th Street in Rivera, so just about 7 blocks up from Ocean Beach. And I remember like the opening day or whatever, your walkthroughs when they're trying to recruit you in, and Ocean Beach was pumping.
Wow.
Like, yep, like here, I didn't care at all about what they were offering other than I was right next to the beach.
That's cool. Right on. So what kind of boards were you riding at the time?
I mean, that's the early aughts. So I graduated 8th grade in 2003. So, you know, I was just in love with thrusters because that's basically the only thing that was cool back then. And definitely thrusters that were not the right size for me.
Meaning what? Too small or too big?
A combination of the two. Like, I remember, you know, being taught like at least 4 inches taller than you, but I was also a short late bloomer. Like, I was 4'11" my freshman year of high school.
Okay.
They didn't really make 5'4" very commonly.
No, not off the racks.
Yeah, no, definitely not. So I was probably like riding 6.0s. That might have been like, you know, they didn't have leaders. They might have been the right volume.
Okay.
That was a heck of a lot of rail for me to figure out how to control.
I know, but then I'm thinking it's Ocean Beach.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know.
So you're gonna want a little more length.
Yeah, it was probably all right. I didn't, you know, I was such a grom for so long in terms of like all I did. I had Surfer Mag, surfing, Transworld. Like, Transworld was my favorite for sure. I would read through it, but mainly I would just be so fascinated on those photos. Every single wall, there wasn't any bare wall in my room. It was all covered up with every photo I liked, every ad, like Volcom ads especially, were all over the place. Barney, rest in peace, he was my favorite for a long while.
Okay. And he wasn't far from you, 70 miles probably.
No, yeah, I think that was part of it too. Like, he had to wear a wetsuit. Most of his stuff was in a wetsuit.
Right, there you go. So you related to him.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And you'd see him out at Ocean Beach every once in a while.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never said hi to him. I was too embarrassed, but
Yeah,
yeah.
we all have done that.
Yeah.
Surfing next to our heroes. I don't know what year it was. Let's say 2010 or 11 or something. And you were probably maybe gone by then, but did you go to the Ocean Beach? Remember they had the WSL event for 1 year?
Yeah, that was I think it was 2010. Yeah, I was in college down at UCSD.
Oh, bummer.
And I didn't get to go. All my friends were at it and taking photos and getting signatures, and I was insanely jealous. That was like I remember watching Kelly Slater's Kelly's approach to Ocean Beach and just being like, wow, I never looked at those waves like that.
Wow.
I looked at Orange County and San Diego waves the way he was looking at Ocean Beach. And that was a massive change in the way I'd try to go surf Ocean Beach thereafter.
So you go through high school and you're surfing OB and then around the area. Is there a lot of hidden waves we don't talk about?
Yeah, there's definitely some. I was a part of Proof Lab. I'm sure you've heard of that surf shop. Yeah, they'd started, I think it was like my sophomore year of high school, so 2008 or so. They'd started, they were just a tiny closet shop, nothing like they look now. And I kind of found my way in with that crew. That's when I actually started getting boards that were like the right size, Timmy Patterson's. They kind of took me under their wing and helped me find some of the better waves that weren't, when Ocean Beach was macking, where we could go to try to get barrels or figure out how to do the turns I wished I knew how to do, and some of them probably still wish I knew how to do. My wife and I joke about moving back up there, and she's pretty steadfast against it. As a lifelong San Diego person, it took her a while to get used to Santa Barbara's version of cold. Yeah, the Bay Area cold is too much.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah, that stretch between San Francisco and Santa Cruz that's my favorite stretch of coast.
It's still wild.
My favorite. Yeah, it's wild. There's all those nooks and crannies that, if the rain did the right thing, there's a sandbar that's not going to be there again for another 10 years, and a lot more crowded than it used to, but still nothing compared to from Santa Barbara south.
Yeah,
sure.
Of course. What about going north on the other side of the Golden Gate Bridge? Did you explore up there?
Yeah. Well, I lived in Marin, even though I went to school in San Francisco. Spent a good amount of time up there, but my parents were still like shark afraid. So, I snuck a couple Bodega Bay sessions in without reporting it to the higher ups. Never went quite as far north as I truly desired. My biggest fascination while I was there was becoming, Andy Olive and Matt Lopez and the crew at Kelly's. Those were my true local heroes, and I just wanted to be accepted by them. I would go surf Ocean Beach no matter really what it looked like if they were going to.
Just to prove yourself.
Unless Matt was going to Mavericks and Andy was going to find one of the nooks, then I'd go ahead and shy away. Otherwise, wanted to be in a true Ocean Beach local. I'm definitely not.
You were talking about looking at Trans World as your favorite magazine. You're seeing all these ads. You had this fascination with the surf industry.
Volcom was really starting to make its name, what I would say, become a surfer at the age of 10 or so. That's 99. There's this fascination I had with them. And I think it goes to like they played this amazing game of accessible, but yet still exclusive, right? You couldn't find a Volcom Stone sticker that was just the stone unless you were on the team.
Okay.
Like I worked at a local skate shop and couldn't even get one from the rep. Their ads had a different spark to them, and their movies, football, schmoopball, all that was like, I just freaking loved it. And I wanted to be in it somehow, partially because I think maybe it would have made me feel cool, but also it just like, they made surfing different in a way that I don't think the other companies did.
Do you think Quicksilver was falling behind, Billabong was falling behind? What actually spoke to you? Just the lifestyle they were given?
Quicksilver at the time, like Kelly Slater was their big name. Dane had yet to pop onto the scene completely, right? That was like 2006, that first chapter came out. Billabong had Shane Dorian. Hurley had Rob. There was some heroes out there, but Volcom had Ozzie Wright. It had Barney.
Okay.
It had Bruce, who had yet to really try for the tour.
Yes.
had that their tagline, the only constant is change. I felt like there was a rebel inside, like there's the rebel inside of me, and I wanted to be a part of that. They had that so overlooked, and everyone kind of forgets about it. But they also like, yeah, they had all the splatters all over the shirt. They had the stone hidden under your left armpit and behind the right knee, and it was like you could kind of hide that you were a Volcom fan
Mm-hmm.
because the front didn't necessarily completely look Volcomed out. You hid it under your knee or in your armpit, and so they just had this way of speaking to me that was cool. And I think like looking back on it, they were also like the one brand that was truly pumping out good surf porn videos at the time, for lack of a better term.
I can't think of the Kevin Basham movie
Yeah.
where he's like just flat. I don't know. I can't even remember, but it was like an acid trip.
Yeah, there was just they put it out there where it was not, you saw so much surfing, but you got to see the people's personalities too, like
Yeah.
kind of like Taylor Steele in his original time, right? Versus like Quicksilver and Billabong, it was just surf porn. Like there wasn't, you didn't see a lifestyle side
More
of it.
corporate.
Exactly. Yeah, they applied to my little rebel side, and they applied to like the artist side too. Like they just had rad art. They like sponsored bands. They sponsored artists. They created a little mini culture within the surf culture.
And what about the VQSs? You ever get into those?
Yeah, I went down to every one that was in Santa Cruz.
Okay.
And then if I happened to line up with the ones in Orange County, I would go after those. It's kind of my most embarrassing contest moment. Actually, I was a super shy little Grom. And the very first one I went to, I saw what name my heat was. It was at the Hook. And I walked up when it was time for my heat. I waved to the director or whoever was the check-in lady, grabbed my jersey, and paddled out. And when I came back in, I felt good about how I surfed. And when I came back in and handed off my jersey, she was like, "Hey, you did really well, but we didn't know that was you. You didn't check in, so we didn't know that was Jared. So sorry, but you're not making the next heat."
They didn't judge you.
They didn't judge me, no.
Oh, no. Oh, that's heartbreaking for a kid.
Yeah, it was like, I don't know who was in that heat, but I'd imagine someone else decent might have been in that heat, and maybe I could like have a claim to fame of like, oh yeah, I beat like,
somebody.
this Grom that was 2 years younger than me and went on to be a pro. But I don't have the facts to prove that.
Okay. All right. On.
DQS, and then when the Grom search came out, I was running all over for the Grom search.
There's a lot of talent there.
Yeah,
that surf those contests.
Yeah, I'd make a heat or two. I never made semifinals or quarterfinals. I was always well on the lower scale of
you went for
competitions.
It was all about fun. I mean, that was Volcom's thing. Volcom, you're fascinated with it. How does that lead to you wanting to be in the industry?
I also loved art. I did a lot of art. It's kind of blurred out behind me, but I have some paintings that I have hung up, and I have a sketchbook that I carry around. And I just thought like, oh man, I could either be on Wolcott's team helping Volcom be Volcom.
Yeah.
Or maybe I can start my own Volcom. Like I want to, my goal in life, it was my senior year of high school. And I decided I played water polo and baseball through high school. The last year I'd switched to, I was super obsessed with water polo my senior year, and I was like, I want to go play on a water polo college team. And after our team got destroyed throughout the season, and I realized I wasn't 6'3" and 250, so I wasn't going to be able to compete in college water polo, I was like, I'm done with this. I just want to surf. Like, that is what I have for life after high school. We'd gotten like 2 weeks or so into the swim season, and swim team is great for many people. It was not for me. I was not a very fast swimmer. I only did swimming for water polo and surfing. And I just said, what's the point of doing swim this year? Like, I just want to surf. And my parents didn't like the idea. And so I countered with like, here's how you accept it. I'm going to start a surf company. they didn't have the money to buy me a car. And so I wanted to buy a car and be able to go surf whenever I wanted without putting limits on my family and having a car when I got to college. And so I said, here we go. I'm starting a surf company, and designed some shirts, designed a little website, catalog. Like I said, I was in with the Proof Lab crew. And so I had some ideas from them, started it out, and sold out pretty fast. Was able to buy myself a car and had my
Wow,
stuff
that's
in
impressive.
Proof Lab. The local Groms that were my age and younger were wearing my stuff, and some of the older Groms were kind of supporting it, but they're also looking at me as a bit of a sellout, trying to be a SoCal-ish boy, even though I was up there. But yeah, my goal was, I didn't know anything about money. I didn't know what would be a good career choice. I lived right next to Silicon Valley and didn't think for 2 seconds about joining that. I just wanted to have an income and a career that would make it where surfing could be part of my everyday life and there'd be no weirdness about that.
What was the name of the company?
The company name was Manuka.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember at all where I came up with it.
What does it mean?
It was my version of, like, I think the M at the front was a little of a tip of the cap to Volcom, because they had the M at the back. I wanted a U in there because of Muscat being in my name. Manuka honey was not a thing at the time. There was not like the health crazed influencers today that sell that overpriced honey, and so it just came out of that, and I went with it.
What did you learn from that?
I learned it's really freaking hard to make money off of apparel.
Okay. You got to invest a lot to get money.
Yeah, you have to invest a lot. And like, I do runs. I do, like, I didn't call them limited edition, but I do batches of new designs every 2 or so months. And the biggest learning was that within the surf industry itself, it was darn hard to start something new. I could sell the heck out of it to my friends that didn't surf and my close friends that did surf. But to the core legends that I looked up to, it was hard to get them interested enough to be like, yeah, all right, I'll grab that shirt. So it was a learning, and like, the surf industry it's a tough industry in a variety of ways.
Do you think that's changed now with the big companies dying?
You know what? Yeah, I do. I think about it a lot. I'm talking to a couple screen printers and some people about possibly restarting it, because there is, you see former Rivia, Stecco, all these former pros starting their own companies, and they seem, to actually be doing decently enough, because
I think they're doing okay, but I think Dane Reynolds says all his money's gone because of Chapter 11.
Yeah, no, they're not making big bucks, but they're doing, like, you think of Ruco as the last one to join the dance of the industry before it kind of went completely corporate and everyone started going under one hat. None of those companies really make money off of surfers anymore. But like Former and those guys, they've found a way to keep actual core surfers interested in their company. Like, I live in Santa Barbara. I surf probably 70% of the time down in Ventura because of how much more waves there are down there. Like,
oh yeah,
and easier it might be to find a lineup less crowded, even if it's just closeouts. Can't surf in the 805 without seeing Former or Chapter 11 hoodies or hats.
Well, good. I hope they buy it.
Half of the parking lot. But I also do know it's like they're probably not making much money by trying to stay core. And
you're probably right.
Like, they're doing something. They're doing something right.
Yeah.
They've been able to add new team riders and all that. But that's the big balance I play in my head. And on my marketing mind, I come up with schemes for it. On my storytelling mind, I come up with schemes like, how could you create a surf brand that would honor core surfing and resonate with core surfers without it just being a company that barely keeps afloat, let alone could help you support your family?
I mean, it's any business really, I guess, but
any business, yeah. But like in the surf industry,
and what is core anymore? The surfers have changed.
That's a big question I keep playing with, right? Like Blake over at Stab the other day was talking about how like anyone in the surf industry has sold their surfing soul because they're trying to make money off of surfing.
Yeah, and you realize that later on in life, at my age.
Yeah, 100%. Like
because when I was a kid, like, you had to have the Quicksilver shorts.
You
had to have the OP shorts. Actually,
and now it's almost like if you have Quicksilver shorts, you're anti-core. But if you have Former, it's okay. But Dane made all of his money off of Quicksilver.
Right. And then there's got to be like, it's got to fit your lifestyle, because I still want to look like I'm wearing, I don't know, longer short. I don't know. Like, it's not my style, Former.
Yeah.
I want to support them, but it's just not the style of clothing I would wear.
Yeah. And there's
so that's just for me. I'm a different generation, though.
Well, and I think it's like it applies to my generation. I'm 36. Like, my surfing really grew up right through the whole thrusters aren't the only accepted board. Now you can ride single fins and logs and all of that, and stop wearing trunks that are past your knees. Start wearing trunks like Dora wore, beaver tail wetsuit, like the surf industry style, like outside of just what boards you wear, but what clothes they're producing has gone through quite a few rounds in my life as a surfer. And I'd be guilty to say I didn't try and follow at least half of them.
Yeah.
Like wearing
if it talks to you.
I look back at some of the jeans I wore in college. I'm like, why the heck did I do that? Those look like tights. Like
that's just how life is.
Yeah.
Imagine all these old people that are looking at the 60s and the bell bottoms. Like,
exactly.
Yeah. You dabble in the surf industry, but then you end up getting jobs in the surf industry.
Yeah. So in my last couple of years of college, I was living in Encinitas, California. I had a 2-bedroom apartment that I split with my best friend for $650 a month. That was 2 blocks away from the beach. So crazy to think that's all I had to spend. And we were right behind Surfy, JP St. Pierre. And that
like Lucadia.
Yeah, Lucadia. They just started Surfy, and I walked in one day and I was like, hey, can I work for you, JP? And he's like, we don't have enough money for you to technically work here, but you can be my shop grom. And so we had like a deal where I'd accrue my hours to get credit to the store to get free product. And, the best thing that he gave me, aside from like me earning a board or two over time, was I had access to his lineup and access to his brain on how the industry worked and how surfboards are designed, what concave really means, and hard rails, all that. And then I just graduated from college, working at a health food store, and Surfline was looking for a social media manager. And JP was good friends with the guy, Ross Garrett, who was the one that was looking for that. And he recommended him over to me. A couple months later, I was at Surfline thinking I had made my dream happen. Working at the website I visited every day, multiple times a day. And
most surfers are looking every day.
Yeah. And I was, on the front edge of social media. I got to be a part of interviews of Kelly Slater, go sit in the VIP areas at WCT events and talk to the reps of surfing companies, and just like, I felt like I was a really, really cool surfer.
So you literally were in the industry. Like you're rubbing shoulders with guys you saw in Trans World.
Yeah. It was amazing. And Rob Gilovich was the one that was leading the editorial team at the time, the Surfer Mag god that he was, and Marcus Sanders, like Mike Chinchuli. There was just a bunch of really good guys. Billy Watts was also living in Lucadia and a good friend of mine, Travis Kuhlman. And I got to just become friends with that and soak in so much from them. And it was amazing. It
was amazing. Did it stay amazing, or did it start losing there's no right answer. I'm just asking.
Yeah. I mean,
then it became a job maybe, or I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Surfline's the one professional job I've had that I look back on. That was always amazing at Surfline.
Okay.
Cool. There's so many connections I made there that I'm still friends with to this day, and lifelong memories that I had. Like one of the most nuanced ones was, it was O'Neill had just brought the Coldwater Classic back to Santa Cruz. And so I'd worked a deal with our sales rep with O'Neill that for the Surfline coverage of it, Sage Erickson would be the on-site reporter for Surfline. So I was working with Sage that whole event, getting to go surf in between contest days with my heroes, Taj Burrow and
Wow.
all that, and partying with them as well. Stories that I will never be able to remember because of all that happened. But the reason I mentioned that one is then like it was, I don't know, 10, 12 years down the road, have somehow become good friends with Daniel Norris, who's a professional baseball player. When he and I became good friends and he was spending his off seasons living in his van at my house, he met Sage and got married to Sage. Hadn't seen or talked to Sage in 12 years. And then all of a sudden we're just remembering the old times and the memories of the past. And it's like, that's a pretty special place in my heart for, like, I was doing journalism. I wasn't completely selling my soul, I think. And you got to be a part of like each little company in a certain way, because we relied, as much as Surfline relied on subscriptions, it was relying on the ad revenue from those companies.
Does that take the soul of surfing out? I mean, is Surfline half soul? I mean, I'm just thinking this out loud.
No, I get it, man. I think of it all the time. There's a piece I've been working on writing for, like, trying to address my surf grumpiness of lineup mayhem. And part of me is like, everyone loves to go blame Surfline for making forecasts and the cam so easily accessible, as well as taking the violence out of surfing. Because if you went and you got mad at someone
at the harbor,
it's right there.
Yeah.
And I'd like think maybe you could argue it's stripped some of the soul away, but I've also loved to go watch, if I did happen to surf in front of a cam, love to watch the rewinds and figure out how good or bad I actually am. A lot of the people that work there are really good humans. Like Ross he's back there. One of my good friends who was in my wedding, Nick Leota, is there. Like, there's a lot of good surfers that love surfing the same way that I do that work there. And I understand, having worked in the surf industry and now outside of it, like, we all need to make money. We live in a capitalist world.
It is that world we live in. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's, is there a way to work in the surf industry that doesn't sell your soul in some way, shape, or form? Probably not, because you need to expand your consumer base to make money. And therefore you're either bringing in non-surfers into the surf world, or you're making those kooks that we all get frustrated with more into surfing and thus more of a problem. But you're also feeding the industry to keep surf movies that we all live for going and surf content that we all follow going. And you're taking and giving back is kind of what I feel.
For sure. I just had to ask. Everyone has a different take on it too, by the way. And I change my mind all the time.
Same here. I've definitely gone to the, like, Surfline has sold its soul, to the, Surfline's, if it sold its soul, I need to cancel my subscription, and I cannot. So
well, Surfline kind of, between them and Stab Magazine, they're two different media outlets, but they kind of control surfing today.
100%. Yeah. And, I think that's maybe where you could argue most that surfing has lost its soul, is those are the only two options for consistent surf journalism. And surf journalism is an amazing thing, because every surfer is so different and every wave is so different that there's something beautiful about those stories that I don't think most activities, hobbies, or sports can compare to. So,
well, there is Surfer's Journal, just to throw them in there too, but they're a different realm, maybe.
They're a different area. Yeah, and I have my Surfer's Journal subscriptions. I haven't ever thrown away a Surfer's Journal. They're stacked up in my book.
Yeah, you keep them forever.
Yeah, like Transworld Surf. Could we bring Transworld, Chris? Like, get off the WSL and bring Transworld back, please.
But with that, now talking about surf media, you have actually written articles for Stab Magazine.
So I love to write. And at Surfline, I did some writing. I had this weekly piece called Social Absorption, where we take everybody's social media and partially make fun of it, partially use it as a fun news piece. And then I'd kind of shied away from writing after Surfline, I worked at Billabong, and then I went over to Patagonia. I believe it was 22 that Kalani David passed
Yes.
from having a seizure in the ocean. I had friends who were his friends, and it was really tough on them. I didn't know he'd had epilepsy. I just remember feeling so sad, both on like the fact that he'd passed, but also that like he'd never come out and told everyone and made it well known that he had epilepsy and made it so that people would be able to recognize and try and help. And I get that because I didn't do that either. I was diagnosed with epilepsy when I was 17, right before my freshman year of college. And I didn't tell anyone, unless you were my closest of friends, that I had epilepsy. I was embarrassed by it. And it was 2015. I had an awful set of seizures. I had to go through the hospital life and had my license pulled away. And I just realized there's no reason that anyone shouldn't know I have epilepsy. They need to know if I were to have a seizure, how to take care of me. They need to give me some type of pass on if I'm just drowsy AF and can't go out for the night, to not judge me because my medicine has side effects that make it hard to stay up late. And so I'd started to do some epilepsy awareness activism. I'd written some pieces for the Patagonia website. I'd been doing things with the nonprofits. And then when the Kalani's passing happened, I realized I'd never gotten it strictly over to the surf world and like helped the surf world understand what epilepsy is. And so I reached out, a good buddy from actually back in my days at Surfline, Aaron Carrera. He was in the same position as me. He was at Surfer Mag, but he was at Stab at this point. And I reached out to him. I said, hey, can I get a piece up on Stab about epilepsy awareness? Like, can we get something out there so it's no longer a taboo subject in the surf industry and surf world, and people can understand more about it? Like, we need to try and prevent this from happening to any others. And I'm not that good of a surfer, but I know two guys that are way better than me who have epilepsy, and they don't talk about it, but I'm sure if I talk to them, they'll share their story and that'll help get it going. And he passed me over and said, yeah. I reached out, the two guys that I just mentioned, that's Colin Dwyer and Ryan Augustine, two Mavs legends. Colin's dad was one of the OGs. Ryan's been one of the ones who usually gets the best wave on the biggest days, and Colin does too. He's made the finals of the Mavs events. Yeah. And I was like, hey guys, would you be okay with me sharing your story, and I'll share my story too? Because like epilepsy, 1 in 26 people have it. 1 in 13 people are going to have a seizure. There's millions of surfers out there. Let's like help our community. And they said, yeah. And so I wrote a piece about the battle that is epilepsy itself, but specifically how it applies to surfers, which is in a pretty unique way, because doctors don't like people with epilepsy to go in the ocean.
Yeah, I read that in one of them. Yeah, you explained that. Yeah. Like it was going to ruin your life, but you kept surfing. Kind of blew them off.
Like, that first neurologist I saw, she said she had this whole series of questions. And one of them was like, what is your activities? And I mentioned surfing, and she told me not to do that. And I just stood up and said, no, like, I get that it's a danger, but I also have surfed very dangerous waves that could have taken my life anyways. I can't give up surfing, because surfing is what keeps me grounded. It's how I feel stable in any way possible. And if I can't be stress-free, I can't be salt-free. I wanted to get that out to Stab, because Stab's the biggest voice right now. Yeah, and I was honored they accepted it, and I've worked with them on trying to do some more about it. And it's a great Michael Caramelli. They're all really good dudes, and they're 100% for it. Actually, Blake's mom, the chief editor, his mom has epilepsy. You know, it's out there all over. You talk to
I didn't realize it was 1 in 26. That's crazy.
Yeah, 1 in 26. It's a silent disease. Like, you know, unless the person has a seizure right in front of you, or you see them take their medicine and they tell you why they're taking it, you're not going to know that that person has epilepsy.
I see the point of keeping it under wraps because it's not everyone's business, but I guess in order to stay alive, sometimes you may need to share that information. I think in one of your articles I read, you're like, make sure someone's paddling out that understands you have epilepsy in case you do have a seizure in the water.
Yeah,
So they can help.
yeah, 100%. To be transparent, I don't follow that doctrine very well.
Especially if you're driving to the beach for like an hour session by yourself.
Yeah.
Are you gonna walk up some random dude and say that? Or girl.
There were times in the past I was very strict on that because I had some fits with my epilepsy where it was way more likely that I was going to have a seizure.
Okay.
But I just absolutely had to surf. And so I'd make sure I was with a friend and be doing my best that we could stick near each other. But, you know, the one place I never had a seizure was the ocean. I had seizure while driving at one time. I'd had seizures in every home I lived in, at the offices I worked at all different types of day. Mm-hmm. The one place I never had a seizure was surfing.
So I think I read or somewhere, and I could be totally wrong, but that stress causes the seizures to come on sometimes?
Yeah. Many different things that can cause a seizure. Stress is one of the biggest ones. And for me, that was one of the major indicators because stress, you know, seizures are caused by some neurons in your brain getting too happy and going wild. And stress is something that happily pushes those neurons to the next level.
But I got to ask a question along with that real quick.
Yeah.
Not to interrupt you, but so if you see a big set, isn't that stressful? Is it different kind? Is more adrenaline versus sitting in traffic?
Yeah,
Sorry,
maybe
it is.
It does get stressful, but like to me, it's always been kind of a fun stressful.
Okay,
I guess maybe that's the growing up at Ocean Beach where you just got so used to getting
hammered.
Wiped away.
Yeah.
Side note on that is that I had brain surgery in 2018. What they figured out was I had this thing called focal cortical dysplasia, and it's a batch of the brain that just it was basically bad brain. In order for me to go seizure free or hope to go seizure free with any continuity, they had to pull it out of my head. And so they did all these tests and everything, and they found out it was located on my amygdala. The amygdala is your fear factor creator. It's what makes you like not jump off of a tall building if you like, because you know that's not going to work well. And so in 2018 they pulled that out of my brain. I don't have actual fear anymore.
Like literally.
Yeah, like
a big roller coaster or something that scared you before is gone.
Yeah, I used to hate roller coasters. Hated roller coasters.
Yeah,
even
crazy.
like my little brother loved roller coasters, and I'd have to go on with him because I was older brother, pissing my pants. Like I just did not trust the other people with my life. I don't have.
It doesn't make sense. It's fine. I get it. I
go
totally
take me over there. You know, like I joke with my wife. It's like kind of a good thing you made me agree to stop surfing Mavericks while our kids are growing, because if I don't get scared.
Right. Like I can't relate, but okay.
Yeah, like it's not, and I like at least I have a decent understanding that it's not the wisest lack of fear.
But at the same time, you're old enough to understand that you used to be scared of that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So maybe it's not a good idea to do that today.
Yeah, for sure. But I just like
I'm not trying to make it lighthearted, but
I mean, I think that is part of like the whole thing, though. I think it does need to be relatively like epilepsy is lame. It is awful.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like it opens certain doors of connection with people, and it opens certain doors of how you can approach your life that like you need to find a way to balance the regulation that it does create into like a positive side. Because if you live in fear of epilepsy as someone who has epilepsy, or if your family is in fear of epilepsy because you're the person with epilepsy, that's a crippling approach to battling that disease. I mean, it's why I'm not embarrassed to wear purple all the time and have all my surfboards colored up with purple, even though like my buddies were like, dude, why? I'm like, well, it makes it easy to talk about epilepsy. And, you know, it doesn't look core and it's kind of silly, but whatever. Like,
what? Okay, so I don't understand. What's the purple? Is that your color?
That's the epilepsy
Okay, I did not know.
foundations. They all have purple.
Got it.
I
All
mean,
right.
if
Sorry.
you look at it, like there's the official color for most major health things, and purple owns a lot of.
Is your color?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
So I do what I can to be the purple guy, and
Okay.
like maybe you laugh at me because I've got purple rails with a purple front grip and a purple tail pad, but like I don't know.
Are you picking out your tail pad because it's purple or because it works and it's purple?
A combo job, yeah.
All right.
You know, the crew at Rage has all the purple. Creed McTaggart, you've had him on before.
Yeah, I love Creed.
He was at Billabong, and he was part of the starting of that, and he helped me go ahead and grab one to try, and I was like, that's good enough. And
perfect.
If I'm pragmatic, I'm not so good that I need to judge tail pads like like I'm a master.
Yeah. So, I didn't know if it was like, well, it doesn't really work, but I'll grab it because it's purple.
Yeah, no, I couldn't do that. I need every bit of advantage possible on a surfboard, so I don't come back with a tail between my legs.
So you have this. Is it a disease? Not a disease. It's just what would you call it? Like just something you have?
It's technically a disease, I think. It
is?
There's a battle within the epilepsy community of calling it a disease versus disability.
Yeah, disability, I guess, yeah.
Yeah. So the causes of it are different for everyone. When I was first diagnosed, they thought it was because of a set of concussions I had in high school.
Which makes sense.
Water polo and body surfing the wedge. And
that'll do it.
So maybe the fear wasn't really there in the first place.
Yeah,
but yeah, they thought it was that, and then it just kept like every couple of years the seizures would get worse. There'd be more seizures, and they'd become more frequent. My wife and I had gotten married. I'd been doing work with the Epilepsy Foundation, and we were talking about having a kid, and my wife was like very blunt, and I always thank her for this, where she was just like, we can't have a kid with your current state of epilepsy. Like it's too uncontrolled that we could be comfortable to bring a kid into the world, and like you might have a seizure while driving with the kid, or the kid's in bed with us and you have a seizure. Like we need to figure out a better way to take care of this. And
real quick, is it genetic?
So no, there's
that's it.
They don't know for sure whether or not it's genetic. There's still so much that they don't know about it because the brain is so hard to study. I'd been seeing this same neurologist from the time I was diagnosed up until that point, and I'd always pressed on him like, hey, can we do some more testing to figure out what's going on? Because anytime I reported a seizure, he'd just add to my medical dosages or switch what medicine I was on. I'd gotten to a point where I was on like 4,000 milligrams of medicine a day, and it wasn't doing a great job of controlling anything. So my friend at the Epilepsy Foundation, this guy named Nathan Jones, he's like, let's get you into UCLA. Like UCLA is the leading neurology center in the United States. Let's get you in there and see if they can find something else. He hooked me up with this guy, Dr. Antonio Escueda, who was born and raised on the North Shore, was surfing Sunset back in the 70s, but had given it up because of his passion for science and neurology specifically, and moved over to LA and was leading the UCLA research on epilepsy. And he put me through tests, and he discovered it to be focal cortical dysplasia, which is something I was born with. And a lot of people with epilepsy are born with it. And it either appears early in life and your brain can kind of, as it develops, develop it away, or it was hidden and doesn't appear until your late teens, early adulthood. And at that point, it's embedded in there. And it's not something that ever consistently listens to medicine. So, like, yeah, I'd get a new dosage of medicine and I'd stop having seizures for 3 or 4 months. And then it was like, well, done with that, back to having seizures. And so he's set the path for, all right, we need to do surgery. We need to figure out exactly what type of surgery, how much of your brain to pull out. And
oh, shit.
Yeah.
Were you stoked on the surgery, though? Like, were you looking forward to it because it would probably solve some of the problems?
At first, I was scared.
Yes.
Because I very specifically remember the day that I got the test result back on the online portal that said, yeah, focal cortical dysplasia. And I did a Google, and obviously long before the AI days, which are, I missed that, but long before the AI days. And the first thing that came up was focal cortical dysplasia is only treatable by surgery. Here's the surgery history. And it had the first known surgery for it, which was they just cut out the entire like right side of some guy's brain.
Holy
And
shit.
he never had a seizure again. He couldn't talk, but he could communicate by writing. Like
Oh,
it was
shit.
And so like that was my first impression of it. And I was definitely scared.
100% I'd be scared shitless.
Luckily, I had an appointment the next week. I brought my aunt that I consider one of my best friends, Aunt Karen. She's my mom's best friend. She's not even technically my aunt, but she's I call her Aunt Karen. She came with me. We wrote out all the questions. We got really prepared. And I walked away from that conversation with Dr. Antonio Escueda like, oh yeah, okay, this will be a good thing. It's going to be crazy, but it's going to be a good thing. And so they had a goal to do it within the next 8 months, but we had to do a long set of tests, study it all more. And that was a crazy set of tests that's a whole nother set of stories. But I was like, all these MRIs, EEGs, they actually like even did like cognitive tests. I had this one day that was 8 hours of basically SATs to see how smart I am or am not to decide like how much of this part of the brain are we scared to cut off so that like his lack of wisdom goes even further into a lack of wisdom.
So did you know they were going to cut the fear part out?
They had gotten to that point like right towards the end of the test. The big battle they faced after like the first 6 tests was it was located up in the front left temporal lobe, and they didn't know how much of it was on the amygdala. They knew some of it was. They're also scared that some of it was what's called the hippocampus, which is what, like I'm right-handed, so the left hippocampus for me that's where my vocabulary and math skills are stored. The right hippocampus is where my muscle memory is stored. So they wanted to do everything possible to not take away my limited vocabulary, but high math skills, if I can tout myself.
Is everyone's brain set up the same way?
That's another one of those fascinating things is like, as much as they know, they don't know. Like there's this one test they did, it's called the WADA test, where they stuck something up in a not very comfortable place all the way up my spine to like get access to put a bunch of blue dye in my brain, as well as be able to turn off half my brain at a time. And then they had an MRI screen up there to read how my brain was operating. And they turned off the left side of my brain, or they turned off the right side first and had me do vocab, math, and memory tests. And I aced it all. And then they turned on the right side, expecting for me to turned off the right and expected me to suck at it because that's not where it should be stored anymore, or for me. But I did actually just fine. I got almost like aced on that side. And they're like, whoa, your left front temporal lobe has had so much activity in it that your right has started to pick up some of the weight that the left carries, because you have no choice to operate if it wasn't doing that. And like they hadn't seen that before. They didn't address
so
that.
They're still learning.
They're still learning, yeah. And like on the surgery, you're awake during the surgery. You're gassed out, but you're awake in a certain way. And they're in there, and that's when they get to make the final decision, because that's when they can actually see the colors of your brain and understand, oh, that's the area that's, for lack of a better term, fucked up. Like,
crazy.
Yeah,
that's deep. I'm like a wuss when it comes to this stuff, but I get it. They did a lot
too, man. If I hadn't had to live it, I would not be good at like needles.
Okay.
I hate needles.
What do you want out of the awareness? What do you want the guy that you don't know surfing OB Pier in San Diego, not Ocean Beach, that does not know you, that's just going out for an hour session? What does he need to be aware? What do I need to be aware of someone that has epilepsy? Does that make sense? The question?
Yeah, I get it. For me, there's like three key parts to it. Number one is seizure first aid. And that's because old stories about how to take care of it that are definitely not the right ways to do it.
Stick something in their mouth so their tongue don't choke.
Yeah,
and all that.
like don't
That's
do
bullshit.
I
Or don't bite their tongue off or whatever it
epilepsy
was.
stories. I bit the fuck out of my tongue after one seizure, choked on my vomit, and went into a 10-day coma from that. Like, do not put anything down their tongues. But like seizure first aid, every school, every teacher needs to know about seizure first aid. And like, it's relatively unplausible to think that everyone in the world is going to know seizure first aid. But if I know you, I want you to know seizure first aid, not for me, but because there's a good chance a lot of people you know have epilepsy.
Joe down the street might not tell you.
Exactly. He might not tell you, but if you can recognize his seizure and help him as fast as possible, then man, he's way better up. Because I've also had so many times where I had a seizure, no one knew it was a seizure, immediately calls the ambulance, and then it becomes a scene that is the exact opposite of what someone recovering from a seizure needs.
Right. So like one thing is, let's say you're sitting in the lineup on your board, and then you're just kind of, and the set's coming, you're not paddling. Would that be a sign of a seizure, possibly? Like you're just staring out to space?
Yeah, if like the person's just like, if you're staring out to space and you're in you'd kind of notice like a gloss over the eyes. And if you communicated to him like, Mike, and he's just sitting there, you're just sitting there, not doing anything, then it's like, okay, Mike's not Mike right now. Like, let me go get Mike. And, gonna sacrifice my board and put it with his board to try to keep him afloat and get us the fuck to shore as fast as possible.
Okay.
And then when we get to the sand, make sure that if there's no lifeguard on, I'm going to get 3 other guys. No one needs to call the ambulance, but the person who has their phone, come here and time it so that if it did get to 5 minutes, we can get the ambulance. And if it didn't, well, okay, let's just get him home safely and do what we need for him. There's new medicine out there that wasn't around when I was first born. There's like nasal sprays that people can have and should have, so that if that seizure happens, your friend can grab that nasal spray, toss it in there, and end it like that. So there's that. The other side of it is I want people, like, it's your personal choice, but I want you to be proud of having your epilepsy. Don't let it be, it doesn't need to be wide public information the same way I live with it as public information, but it can be, your employer should know about it. Every one of your best friends should know about it. You should have a card in your wallet that has the list of your medications and all that information. Because let's say someone did call the ambulance and the ambulance comes. If you can hand them that medical information card, they're going to know what to do. They're not going to make you go sit in an ER room. They're going to take care of you the right way. You can't communicate to them very well. Like the amount of times I had an EMT going, "What's your first name?" And I'm trying to say Jared, but it's coming out Jabugaba or whatever, So empowering my fellow epilepsy peers to letting those around them know, and be there for each other. While I was on the road to the surgery, some of the most important people in my life weren't even people that I have ever met in person. They were other people who'd had the surgery that I could talk to and get advice from on what to expect from a test or anything like that. And then the final one is family support, because I saw what epilepsy did to my family and how my mom and dad and brother and wife, the PTSD it brought upon them to see what I went through. And I think as awful as it was for me, I think it's a lot worse for them.
Yeah, people that care about you.
Yeah, people that care about you. And so if your loved one has epilepsy, don't be afraid to get support for yourself. If it's a therapist or a peer support group, you do your best to support that person with epilepsy if they don't see you carrying the burden of the trauma it brings to you. Because it does bring trauma to you, but they're dealing with a different trauma. And so don't share the trauma, share the love for each other.
Okay.
Because that's just, as a dad, I still go surf as often as possible because I know I'm the best dad when I get to surf frequently. If I'm not surfing, I'm not my best self. Take care of yourself.
Yeah, for sure. The awareness. So you're giving it for both the surfer that doesn't have epilepsy, but you're also giving it sounds like a lot of the awareness is with other people that have epilepsy. You're telling
A
them to
lot,
make other people aware is what I'm hearing.
a lot of it, yeah. Like, let everyone know. The people,
The important people know.
I'd say it's like once a month, somebody out of the blue reaches out to me
That's cool.
on Instagram or through a friend of a friend of, hey, my son just got diagnosed, or I just got diagnosed, and he surfs, and the doctor's telling us don't go surfing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
How did you do it? What did you do? I give them my personal feedback. I tell them, like, all right, here's some life vest that might be a good idea, a helmet that might be a good idea. I say it with the might because I never did it. I wasn't necessarily the smartest about how I approached my surfing while in the worst parts of my epilepsy. But whatever you do, like, empower that individual to find the lifestyle that keeps them happy enough to battle the medical side effects. And
Yeah.
this is one Grom specifically down in San Diego who I'm going to go hang out with when I go down there over the holidays, where, when his mom reached out to me, I was like more than stoked and told her about how I'd help her. But I was like, hey, I think as far as his support from me, have him talk to me about it instead of you relaying the information. Like, he needs to feel like he's strong enough for this, that he doesn't need mom to tell him what some average surfer told him about how to deal with it. And
I get that.
Like,
yeah.
I talk to him on a weekly basis and I talk to her on a weekly basis in very different ways.
100%.
Like, very different ways.
The awareness is important. For me, I don't know any of my friends have epilepsy. They may have it, and I just am not aware of it. But I like the fact you telling people, share the information, at least to the important people.
Yeah. And maybe after they hear this, they're going to be happy they won't feel ashamed to say it. When I look back on before I started talking publicly about it at all, it's kind of it shouldn't be embarrassing, but it is an embarrassing fact that's a flaw of yourself that you can't control.
Mm-hmm.
And you wish you could control it, and you feel wrong that you cannot control it. So you don't want anyone else to hear about it.
Right. I will say this, though. I mean, dealing with, my kids and whatever, and their friends, a teenager's brain is also thinking differently than how you're thinking at 35, 36, 37.
100%.
Or 50 or whatever. I see what you're doing. That's great.
Yeah. But even Colin and Ryan, I'd surfed Mavericks with them a couple times before I told them about epilepsy. They didn't come out and tell me about it until after a specific awareness paddle that I'd done that was on the Patagonia website and got some decent attention, where then my next session up at Mavericks, it was like, oh, Jared, by the way, I have epilepsy too.
Oh, wow.
Dude, I can't really criticize you too much because I didn't tell you I had epilepsy. But
yeah.
Fuck, if we're surfing this wave and we all care for each other's lives, we should know everything that's on the sheet about how to help each other.
Yeah.
And what help we each need. My generation, I think, I'm millennial, right? Even us had we grew up in an age where therapy wasn't cool. It wasn't accepted to say that you were depressed. There's a lot of walls that we were told to build in our lives. And there's certain ones that you should probably always keep up, and maybe I'm partially wrong on it, but I'm a big believer in if you have epilepsy, don't be afraid to let everyone know. You don't need to wear it as a badge. You don't need to dress in purple or post about it on social media, but any of those people you spend a good amount of time with, let them be prepared to help you because of a seizure itself, or it's because you're just going through one of those phases where the side effects of the medicine are putting you in a phase where you need to talk to someone besides a family member to yell and scream. and they can just hear it out for you.
All good advice. Appreciate you sharing that. Is it hard sharing?
It's a balance point. Like there's certain, I'd say my biggest flaw in all of it is, as much as I've tried to address certain parts of like the PTSD that I've gone through because of epilepsy, I haven't ever addressed it in full or do a good job. There's probably no full addressing of it, but I haven't done a good job of making sure to like directly address it on a consistent basis. Like we'll get to a certain time of year where I'll remember that awful seizure set that set things sideways forever. And I'll be looking at the photos on my phone and not do a good enough job of either getting the photos the heck away or like having a heart-to-heart conversation to like live through it and get it out of the system instead of live through it only in my brain in the background and then go into a not great mindset. And yeah, I mean, I've got it's a bad, like, you know,
but it's something set for, I mean, what I hear, and it's empowered you too. And it's something you have to deal with. It's not going away.
Yeah. That's the thing. I'd say like it's not going away, and I think too often I put myself in a place where I think it's away, and then it'll find itself back into the memory bank fast. Should probably do more.
Right on. Well, thank you for sharing that with us all. Totally appreciate it. Now I have like I'll look at my fellow surfers in the lineup maybe a little differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just be aware. And if it's not epilepsy, they might have something else that's could hamper them. So just being aware of who's around you, I guess, in the water.
Being aware. Like caring, I think,
caring. Actually caring. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to care about the other guy.
We need to get back to that. And this, like, it's funny. I think everyone, like local lineups, there's all the conversation about how crowded they are and crazy they are, right?
They are.
And they are. The friendliest lineup I've ever surfed is Mavericks.
Yes. Well, I mean, it does make sense, and I've interviewed quite a few Mavericks guys.
Yeah.
They're sharing something that most guys or gals aren't sharing.
Yeah.
And it's a big wave that could kill them.
I mean, like, yeah, and like Chase, you had Chase on a while ago. He and I were both starting there at the same times, and we buddied up pretty darn hard on being the naive newbies that were trying to find our way and prove our point.
Yep.
And he did it way better than me. And still does. There's a camaraderie out there because you understand you're all in danger. And even if there's a dude that's going to do the shoulder hop, like, yeah, that's annoying, but he's in danger too. And his ability to shoulder hop is a lot less annoying or dangerous for everyone than the dude on the 7-foot giant single fin at Rincon, who, when he shoulder hops, that board might just go right through your calf.
Okay.
Right. So like, just, I guess I bring it back to like, we all need to remember to care about each other a little bit more. Like anytime you're surfing, you're in danger in a certain way.
100%.
And maybe that person's out there in a bad space in their mind because of all the epilepsy battles or diabetes, whatever, like they're dealing with. And so if they're not in a good place and they're being weird, like offer them a smile instead of like my go-to of middle fingers and a devil's glare. I'm trying to get better at that.
Right, we are. Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
So you've had these different generations of surfing. You're on the thruster, trying to surf for Volcom or whatever. Like being a big. That's your band, and I'm just over exaggerating. I'm just joking about that.
No, that's true. That's what I was saying.
But how has your board and your quiver changed over the years?
I'm more of a. I like to claim that I'm a little bit of a rebel. I'm also kind of more of a trend follower than I think I want to admit.
Okay.
I recently wrote about this on my Substack, and it was my sophomore year of college. I was on the UCSD surf team. I was sponsoring myself with Manuka and had a deal with Rickland Surfboards, up and coming shaper, where I just get my boards at cost. And I still had this idea, like, I can make it, like I can break out of it and I'd be a pro. But I could not win more than one heat in a contest, and I could not land anything besides a straight air. And I just would leave most of my sessions frustrated as heck.
Okay.
And I stumbled upon MP, The Life and Times of Michael Peterson by Sean
Yes.
Doherty.
Okay. I've never read it, but I know of the book.
Yeah, that's like it's a must read. First off, Sean's an incredible writer, but also
Right.
MP he's a god in a certain way. It made me reapproach, like I gotta stop trying to be pro. I need to find my surfing stoke. And so I was living in an on-campus apartment, and I turned it into a shaping room and shaped myself a single fin. Didn't put a leash plug in it, and
Going soul.
I was like, I'm going
All
pure
soul.
soul.
Yeah.
I sold all my thrusters. Everything was about single fins. And I thought everyone had it wrong. And then it was like shortly thereafter that I was working at Surfy. And then I finally had enough money to buy my Mavericks boards. And I had my ins at Billabong to get the inflatable suit, like all that stuff. And I went from single fins only to like Bonzers and Mavericks only to anything besides thrusters. Every thruster is a potato chip. And just went all over the place. And then I think it was like 2019. I was finally like, fuck, I should try thrusters again and like stick to it for more than like 2 sessions.
Mm-hmm.
And fell back in love with them. And like now I have 28 surfboards in my garage, and 12 of them are thrusters, and the other half are either like alternates or single fins. And
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mainly surf thrusters. Like living here where I do in Santa Barbara, like the point breaks are beautiful for single fins and fishes and stuff. But back to that grumpy side of me, so many of the people on those boards are like the wave hogs or lineup destroyers that I just like don't want to associate myself with them at all.
Yeah.
And,
you got to find your own path, I guess.
Yeah, but I also like I love to have that's like, so I mainly surf a neckbeard these days. And
okay.
I'll surf with like the Groms aspiring to be surfers in 2-foot harbor. And I'll be asking them like, how did you do that air? Happily going ahead and killing my humility in the name of like, how are you guys doing it? Like, I want to figure out to do that. I don't care that I'm 36 and I'm not going to be a pro, but like, let me try and keep getting better. And then I'll like get too frustrated, and then Rincons are good, and I'll jump on my single fin and be reminded that you don't like pump the whole time, and you got to find a line. And then that will like translate to me surfing a thruster better the next time I jump on it. So yeah, thrusters are my favorite because of like, they are a lot easier to surf than mid lengths and whatnot. If you like want to do turns and get barreled.
Ride them while you can, because there will be a point where it's going to be.
Yeah.
Well, you can still always ride a thruster, but you just got to be bigger and wider and fatter.
Yeah. That's, like I actually like the opening line to this piece I'm writing right now is whenever I think about my future in surfing, I always ask myself the same question. At what point will I stop trying to get better? Like,
Never.
At what point will I just get comfortable?
Oh, I don't know. That's a weird question.
Yeah.
It's a hard question.
Yeah, like I wonder what, like, is it even, do I even try to get better, or is it just trying to still surf however I want? Like, is that
for me? It's just trying to get down the line fast. I love going fast.
Yeah, and not feeling like a kook while you do it, right?
Right.
So I wonder. I don't know. I think at the end of the day, like,
well, it's a journey, and it changes.
Groms,
you take a left, you take a right, you go straight. Sometimes you go backwards. Maybe
over the falls is fun. Like, here's a question for you. Do you remember the first wave that created the Grom Stoke that made you?
I remember the first turn I ever did.
Yeah.
It was on like a sunset. I don't even know how I had it. It was too big, but it was a twin fin. And I remember it was Seal Beach, and I did like no pumps, I don't think. I don't even remember, but I remember the turn. And I was like, I was amazed. It was an accident.
Right.
And I've been chasing that since.
That's the thing, right? Like, I don't think
chasing the dragon or whatever they say.
Yeah. Does any surfer any of us ever accomplished what that first piece of surf stoke was? Or is that what we're always just re-chasing? Like, even Dane Reynolds, I'd ask that question too. Like, you've done every turn and every air in the book. Like, yeah, but you still keep trying to do them.
Yep.
at the best level? Is it because like you still remember that first air that made you feel the way it did?
His body has changed and he's still fucking killing it.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, I share the lineup with him relatively frequently, and I'm 4 years younger and definitely in relatively better shape, and I'm just like, duh.
He's
Like,
amazing.
I'm riding your dumpster diver, or I'm riding your neckbeard, and I cannot come anywhere near that. What the heck?
That's crazy,
dude.
Right on, Jared. So thank you so much for coming on, dude. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you, Mike. I really appreciate it. And appreciate the chance to talk about epilepsy. And my sign off would be like, if anyone comes to you that has epilepsy and wants to talk to a fellow surfer about it, by all means, I'm here. If anyone who hears me and is like, oh, that schmuck kook who thinks he's decent is there for me on the epilepsy front, I am. We're in a world that we're all in it together, but on the epilepsy side, I'm especially here for you.
All right, so this is Mike and Jared, and we are out of here.
You go left, I go right. Man, this wave is out of sight. Going surfing, going surfing, going surfing with friends. Ride this wave to the shore. Paddle out, I'm gonna catch 10 more. Going surfing, going surfing, going surfing with friends. I don't care if it's wrong or right. I'm gonna do it all day, I'm gonna do it all night. I'm going surfing, going surfing, going surfing with friends. On my way, it's a beautiful day. I'm going surfing, I'm going surfing, going